Hello, welcome to another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. I'm Wayne Highlander with Bone Adhesives.
I'm Rob Johnson with the Bone Training.
How we doing, Rob?
Pretty good, bud. How's it going?
It's going good. We have an electric show today. Really
Electric.
electric. Yep. So I was talking to a contractor the other day, and this is a good contractor who's been in the business at least 30 years, maybe longer. Okay. He's done it all. And he was on a job recently, and he was tapping into the box, which he's done into the panel, which he's done countless times in his career, right? Um, okay, 30 years, 50 weeks a year times 30. Say you did it once, was that 1,500 times? Let's say it's on average. Let me do it real quick. Say it's he's been doing for us for 30 years times say 50. That's a lot of times tapping into a box, right? So let's just hold that thought right there. So
Yes.
he tapped into a box, and like he's done it so many times in his life, routine. And he was using a 4-in-1 screwdriver. You know the type of screwdriver that you put the bits in and whatever, and then you close
Yes,
it.
they're my
So
favorite screwdriver. I have a problem.
okay, hold that thought. So he uh, he tapped into he put the wire into the breaker, right? Took the screwdriver, tightened the breaker. Okay, closed the box, hit the breaker, and all hell broke loose. I mean, fire shot out. His fingers, the three fingers were black from the soot or whatever the and what happened was the uh, the 4-in-1 screwdriver, the bit stayed in the.
Oh,
You see what I'm saying? Close the box
yes.
up tight up against it.
Oh,
Didn't
man.
see it, and it was. I mean, first of all, it
So it
almost
was
gave him a
just
heart.
the little ones with the
Yep,
magnetic. It
yep,
stuck in there.
yep.
He pulled it out.
Pulled it out and
Oh,
pulled the screwdriver
man.
out. That stuck in there. Didn't realize it. Hit the breaker to turn it on, and like I said, all hell broke loose on that man. First of all, it almost gave him a heart attack. He had to sit down. He was shaking so bad, and he had another guy there, thank God, who just hit. Was able to take a plastic wrench with plastic on it and just hit the breaker to turn it off. And there was you know black up the wall, black on the electrical panel. Just a quick side note here with the bonus maroon pads, 320 maroon pad, got all that off so the homeowner wouldn't see it. He goes, it's amazing how much it took off. But three of his fingers were black from this. He had to go sit down, and he was shaking, and it took him like an hour to calm down. And the reason I say that now, first of all, the proper way, we're going to just say the proper way is to go into a box is not to go into a box, right? Hire an electrician. That's what the NWFA will tell you. That's the hard and fast rule. Okay. Um, I'd be
You know,
lying.
the other thing about, and it's funny that we're going to have this conversation because we are so guilty of doing so many things wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. But sometimes, I mean, I look back at what we were doing, and half of the time I was tapping into boxes, which legally I have no authority to do. I am not a licensed electrician.
Yep.
I am not a homeowner.
Yep.
So if you tap into the box, your insurance is not going to cover you because now you've broken all the rules.
It's
Those are the
illegal.
two rules. The only
Yeah.
people allowed to go in a box is the owner of that box and a licensed electrician.
Mhm.
And 80% of the boxes I tapped in was because I didn't feel like building a range cord. I just had a dryer cord, or I forgot the dryer cord. All I have is the range cord.
Mhm.
or it was three prong and all I had was, or it was four prong and all I had was three prong. Uh,
Yeah.
Just lazy, not building a good 6 or 8 pigtails that would fit in 3, 4, 30 amp, 50 amp range dryer. We can eliminate so many issues of tapping into a box if we have the correct pigtails. And
Yeah.
that is something that I have been pushing at schools now forever. Like, and a lot of our training centers, we have the pushing for or a twist lock. You know, we have different ones. So I have different pigtails at the schools to show everybody, look, see, I'm not tapping into any boxes
Hmm.
because of we have this, and I mean that is one thing I would really like to see. And I, I'm preaching to the choir here. Nobody wants to do it,
Hmm.
but I will not at trainings. I will not talk about how to do it. I just
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah.
I tell everybody, I'm not going to be on the hook for somebody getting hurt.
Yeah.
No
You're
way.
smart not to. Um, like I was going to say, I'd be lying if I said I didn't do it. And the reason I did it, because that's what I was taught to do. My uncle brought me
Yes.
down in the
Right.
basement and said, "Here's how you tap into the box." And our feeling was, as long as we were going through a breaker, it was safe. That was, that's stupid, but that's what we thought. That was, and I never knew. I went for years and years without until I went to an NWFA class and was around other people and went, "Oh gosh, we're not even supposed to be doing this." And I've taught my brothers now how to do it. What if something happens to one of them? But I was tapping into a box one time, and the screwdriver hit the side of the box and arced and melted the screwdriver. You know what I mean? So, and if you've ever been zapped by 220, man, it is life altering. Well, I
I
know that you
spent,
have. You
yeah,
have, right?
I spent the day in the hospital, like a good day. I
Hmm.
didn't wake up until, you know, 3 or 4 hours after I got hit. And it was something that, when we were doing bowling alleys, we used to take the panel right off. We had big battery clamp, like the kind you would use in a
Hmm.
car, right? Jumper cable types.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what
yeah,
our cords were hooked to. And
yeah.
we would go into the incoming legs
Hmm.
because, we were setting up big boosters and things like that. And we would just snap
Yeah,
into the incoming legs. I
yeah.
mean, like
Big,
crawling up on the pole.
yeah, yeah. You have the alligator clamps. You would, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. But oh, it was really safe because I would tuck pieces of cardboard in there so it wouldn't arc.
Hmm.
Eh,
Yeah.
And to be really safe, I'd yank the shoe out of a bowling rental shoe and tie the cord to the box and like, oh, look at me, I can create power
Yeah.
anywhere.
Hmm.
And it's just one of those things where it was funny when you were saying how many times you hook up, right? How many times
Yeah.
we've hooked up in our life.
Yeah.
And as I'm about to put one of the battery clamp cables on the incoming leg, the the manager of the place, it was right behind the counter, the rental counter there. And just as he said something to me, I turned and I looked at him.
Ooh.
I had done it 1,000 times,
Yeah.
right? Or it's the end of the summer too, so
Hmm.
this is like, this is what we do, right?
Yep.
And stuck my hand in, and when he said something to me, I just took I looked at him, my hand kept going, and
Mm.
my hand hit the arc, hit the
Wow.
leg,
Wow.
and that was something because it blew the whole building out and blew me over the counter. The
Wow.
good thing was is I wasn't holding on to the box
Yeah.
because that would have grabbed me and I would
Yeah.
have been
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
stuck there.
Was there any
So
candy bars or anything behind the counter?
I have no idea. I don't know. I woke
You were
up in the hospital.
you
I
were knocked
mean,
out from that?
I was gone, out. It
Wow.
blew
Wow.
me over the counter. My cousin and Pete were there, and they all thought I was dead because it was a
Yeah.
huge flash. Yeah, it was a big mess. It
Wow.
was a big mess. But
Still had your wallet when
but the
you.
weird thing was it's just one of those things that happened so fast on something that I had done 100 times that summer
Yep.
and just lost my concentration for one split second.
That's it.
That was it. That's all it took.
You only got to lose once.
Yeah.
1,500 times. You only have to make a mistake one time to end your career. And
Well, I mean, this was a lot of juice. This was a commercial 3 phase.
yeah,
You know, I could have been dead.
yeah.
Seriously.
I've
And then
been.
what would you have done then? You'd have never
I
met
mean,
me.
I
There'd
would
be no show. Nothing.
see. No, I would never been hired at my last place because you
Yeah.
recommended me.
Yeah.
You,
Exactly.
you you altered the course of my life.
And then I'm sorry.
You're the wings beneath my. You're the wind beneath my wings.
No, you can
Um,
sing that. You can learn that song and maybe sing it to me
I
someday
will off air.
before you retire.
Yeah. Okay. Um.
You know, when Bum told me that he was leaving the railroad and going back to floor sanding
Mhm.
and going to open up his own company and everything, that was really the only thing that ever worried me.
Yeah. Well, especially what
Was
happened to you.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
because I feel like I got away with one.
What color were your eyes before that happened?
Okay, you want to hear something crazy?
Yeah.
And God is my witness. You can ask Pauline. The hair has never grown back on my legs since I
Wow.
got electrocuted.
No, just on your legs or any other, hey, Rob, any
Just the
other parts?
legs. Oh, no. Hair everywhere.
Yeah.
Nothing on the legs.
Hmm.
I
That's
look like a
weird.
plucked chicken. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see people looking
Some
at me at
guys
the
shave their
beach.
legs. Some guys shave
I,
their legs. Bodybuilders.
you would think I would shave my legs. Absolutely.
Huh.
And Pauline's like, what happened to the hair? What
Hmm.
happened to the hair on your leg? And it's like,
It's gone.
it
What about you got a
never
hair?
it never came back. And if I would get bit, when I was away from the family business and everything and on my own, and then, once in a while you get electrocuted, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
doesn't happen all the time, but when you're doing stupid things,
Yeah.
play stupid games, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
She could always tell when I got electrocuted. We'd be sitting at supper or something, and she'd look at my arms and go, "Did you get electrocuted today?"
No kidding.
I'm like,
Huh.
"Yeah." She goes, "Yeah, because the hair is missing all on your wrist."
It makes sense now. You're like a heavyweight boxer that's been hit too many times. Um, you have a hairy back
Yes.
like a gorilla, right?
Yeah, you want to see it?
No, I'm good. But that must be weird on the beach with a hairy back like that and no hair on your legs. Huh.
Just
I've been zapped twice by electricity. Once in the flooring business and once not in the flooring business. And when I was a construction laborer, I tried to, anyhow, the cords got mixed up. I was going to 220 to 120. That wasn't smart. And I couldn't let go of the two cords. You know what I mean? Because you're just like you're shaking it, zapping you. You could is everything I could do to throw them on the ground. If I wasn't if I was like the average man, I probably would end up in the hospital too at that point. But
but but
but and another time,
you're not the average man.
no, another
Yeah.
time I was on a job site, and I'll never what I remember about this. The guy was a doctor, right, and his wife was extraordinarily beautiful. Okay, and he was a good looking dude too. And he was a doctor. He had a Porsche outside, really nice. And then he said, we have a live-in house keeper maid type of deal too as well. And her English isn't very good. She's from Japan, and she walks in, and she's equally as stunning as his wife, and they got no kids. I'm thinking, what's going on in this place? You know what I mean? I mean, who needs all that if you got no kids?
What? where's this?
Anyhow,
Where's this story going?
I don't know. Just it stuck with me my whole life, and I thought this guy's got it made, man.
He wasn't electrocuted. He didn't
No,
help
he
you
was
when you were
fine.
electrocuted,
He was
huh?
fine. No, but in that case, I turned the wrong breaker off. Stupid, stupid. I was a young kid, and I was going to I had to change out the cord for I can't remember the reason why, but I was changing out the cord, and I thought it was the breaker was off or whatever, and then I got zapped that way. So it's twice, and man, like I said, it is, like that's the thing is that in a long career, the amount of times you try to tap into a panel, and I know they say, oh, it's a pain in the butt, and we've done this 1,000 times, and you don't be, a sissy and call an electrician. Who needs to do? You don't need to do. That's a pain. You really do should call the electrician. It's illegal, like Rob said. At least most states, every state I know, it's illegal to do it.
If it
Uh,
isn't, it should be.
yeah, and it's just bad practice.
I
And
got
it's
electrocuted one time, and Peter and the homeowner were cracking up.
really, how many times you been electrocuted?
They a
A
few
fair amount.
times. Yeah,
Yeah.
fair amount. Yeah. We couldn't find any place to get power in this house, and they had a
Mhm.
small electric range that was wired direct. There was
Mhm.
no plug. This is an old home. So I had the idea of pulling the back off of the stove
Uh-huh.
and putting my clips onto the where they were hooked in.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, this is a great idea. This is perfect. Now, I can't wait to get working now that I
Yeah.
have juice. And I don't know what happened, but I'm tucked. There wasn't a lot of room to move the stove out. Okay, so I'm in a really tight place, and it hit me really good, and my head started banging from the wall, like a basketball dribbling sideways. Right,
Gee
it was
whiz.
banging off of the stove into the wall, stove wall, like ba 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 ba, like that.
And they're laughing?
They're cracking up.
Oh my God.
They're cracking up. Here, I'm dying. And they thought that I was messing around. It was like a Three Stooges thing,
Oh my
right?
God.
So I crawl out of there and I'm all pissed off, like, what is so funny?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that was really funny. I go, I was getting electrocuted.
Oh my gosh. That is frightening. Good thing your friends like that, you're out in the middle of the lake drowning and they're laughing. Um,
I said,
and
why would you think that I would be doing that as a joke? You didn't hear the
yeah,
force of those hits?
yeah. Golly.
Ah,
Um,
but I love him.
yeah.
I love that guy.
Um, I've gone into boxes too where they're really tight. Like there's so much going on there and there's not much room at all. I mean, whatever. And it's like the board game Operation when you're a little kid. You know what I mean? Like that's how little room you have to maneuver in there, and you hope that when you get in there and you're shaking, that should be an indication that you shouldn't be doing it. Like man, they're like this. If I just God, I can't touch this or I'm done.
I can't stop thinking about that 4-in-1 screwdriver thing.
Yeah, frightening. And this
How
was a super good
how
mechanic.
many times does that happen when you're using that?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
mean on an electric box. I
yeah.
mean anywhere.
Well, we eventually, I don't want to say this because it's, well, we eventually got the screwdrivers that had rubber all the way down, but I'm not, no part of this I recommend. No part. We were,
No,
like I said, I didn't know, we didn't know any better. I was taught that way as a young kid, and we did it for years and years because we didn't know. That was the first order of business. Go down there and tap in the panel. And
there was a mechanic in a bowling alley watching me hook up one day, and he walks over and he goes, "What the hell are you doing?" I go, "This how
mhm,
we have power for the equipment and everything." He goes, "Why aren't you wearing safety gloves?" I go, "What?"
mhm.
He goes, "Yeah." He goes, and he's showing me rubber safety gloves that you know
Yeah,
people in that business use.
yeah,
So I said to my dad, I go, "Hey, how come we don't wear these these rubber safety gloves?
yeah.
Somebody could get hurt." And he's like, no, if you wear that, you'll lose all respect for the electricity.
Oh man.
It'll make you too brave.
Wow.
You'll be
That's old school
fearless.
thinking. Yeah.
That, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I've
Look,
s-
and I don't care how many times we say it, we highly, strongly recommend do not tap into a bog. But, get an
yeah.
electrician to do it for you.
And I'm
Drop,
hope
give him your pigtail. Tell him what
yeah.
you need.
Yeah. And I'm that's why I started this story, and I think it's a great lesson for everybody else because this guy was the guy. I mean, he's a very experienced, super talented guy, great floor guy, knowledgeable, can do anything. And he actually called me to tell me about this. And he goes, you might want to talk about this on your show, man. He goes, this was and I thought, yeah, thank you for that, man. I appreciate it. Um, so yeah, it's scary.
I'm glad we're
You're
doing this because we've done fire safety. We've done the hell out of fire safety. And
yeah.
I don't care how many times we do fire safety. I think somebody always gets something out of that. But I don't think we've done a lot of electric safety. Maybe sometimes we'll tie electric safety into fire safety, but we don't really. I don't remember really getting into the whole electric safety thing. We've had our
Well,
talks about it and
hmm,
all the mistakes we've made, but
yeah. Well, you know, electricity and cords are a big part of our life. I mean, I remember taking entire days out where we're not working is making up cord ends for every van had, like you said, had all the different cord ends you could possibly have, and then even checking our cords, because the cords get pulled and whatever, and they can start to come loose and this, that, and the other. Sometimes you can look and see you got some darkness in one of the legs because it's starting to come loose or what have you. Changing those cords out, and even any journeyman's ever worked with a apprentice, rolling up the cord the wrong way. I mean, how bad that is. We used to put one end of the cord under a tire, and then stretch it out as long as as long as you can, and just get all that wrinkles out of and then roll them up properly. But just cord management and electrical, all your electrical cords and your fittings. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's that's what so much goes in. And we just did a podcast on charging for your worth and all these type of things, and how much should you charge? Because you're not productive every day on a job. You know what I mean? You're not, because that if you take a Monday out to organize the van and to do the cords and all this stuff, that's a day that you're not on the job. So when you talk about charging for your worth and charging for these extra things, because that doesn't get applied to a single job, but that's something that has to be done. You know what I mean? So it takes time and money.
Do you remember the first cord you ever built?
I can't tell if I remember the first one. No.
I remember the absolute very first cord I built. I
Wow.
was 16,
Hmm.
and my dad was like, "All right, this is how you do it. This is this, that is that." And I was like, "Oh man, look at me.
Yeah.
Look at this."
My own
Huh?
cord.
16 years old and I'm building cords.
Wow.
I mean, what's next? President of the
Yeah.
United States? I
Yeah.
can do anything, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Get all done. I'm all done. So proud of myself. My dad comes walking over. He's like, "So, you all done?" I go, "Yep." He goes, "You sure?" I go, "Yeah." Look at,
Hmm.
and I'm very proud, you know, what
Right.
I did. He goes, "You sure about this?" I go, "Yeah." And I'm thinking, what's this guy's problem? What doesn't he
Yeah.
see the talent, right? Yep. I put a male on one end and a
Mm.
male on the other.
Ouch. Yeah. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
You just made yourself 100-foot cattle prod. Way to go.
Yep.
And that was the absolute very first cord I ever built. Never forget it.
When you
You always remember your first one.
yeah, when your dad told you about the gloves that you don't wear the gloves because you don't respect electricity. I told you when I first started, like for 6 months or so, I never had ear protection, never had D pads. And when I finally asked for them, I'll never forget as long as I lived. And he looked at me in disgust and said, "What are you, one of those kids that wants to live forever?" You know what I mean? That just was a different mentality. So, we talk about this. The young guys coming up are the most educated flooring people that ever was before us, right? I
Yeah.
mean, so we made a lot of mistakes along the way, and a lot of that old mindset, what I mean, is kind of going away. But this is a big one, man. This is a big one because you're going to get on jobs sometimes when you need power, and you're going to feel like you don't have any options or whatever. It's not worth taking a chance. This guy was, he's got a family. This guy, they could have killed him. Could have killed him very super easy. Could have killed him. Could have killed you. You know what I mean? Could have killed me when we got zapped. And I know people that have been zapped with electricity that are not the same anymore. You know what I mean? They have nervous system
I
whatever problems.
yeah, I feel I'm lucky. I mean, for
Yeah.
what I got
Well,
hit, and like I said, I was at the Air Force Base Hospital for most of the day.
wow.
Only picked me up that night. I mean, yeah,
Hmm.
I feel compared to some of the stories that I've heard of guys just,
Yeah.
simple things,
Yeah.
not as bad as what could have been with me. Just like I was at an NWFA school, and one guy was telling me about a cord on his neck with a nick in it
Yeah.
that nearly killed him. Like
Yeah.
he was out of commission for because we were doing the whole safety thing, and this guy got up and he started talking, and his was a nicked cord on a sweaty neck that knocked him out for months, knocked him out
Well,
of the game.
it killed the guy, but he was dead before he hit the ground. Same thing, a sweaty cord around his neck, it had a nick in it, and got him. It's probably the most dangerous thing we do is electricity on our jobs. I mean, if you think about the dangerous things we do, I mean, you got spontaneous combustion. We talked about that. We've got a lot. You're carrying heavy equipment. There's a lot of ways you can get hurt on this job. But probably, well, I don't think it's even probably. I think the most dangerous thing we do is with electricity. Not to mention probably driving to the job and back also, because that's an inherent danger you know when you're
Yes.
driving, when you're part of it comes with the
Yeah,
job.
especially
So
when you're trying to eat breakfast and drink coffee and all that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah. All right, so we've got a couple of lists here. Let's talk about the reasons why it is so dangerous with the electricity. Shock and electrocution. Tapping into electrical panel exposes a contractor to live conductors. Single misstep can cause serious or fatal shock, and that's exactly what happened to me. It sounds like it's happened to you before.
yeah. An arc flash was what this guy experienced, and blast.
Yes.
Working near energized equipment can trigger an arc flash, which can burn the skin, blind, or cause hearing loss and other injuries. Even small equipment can cause a dangerous arc if hot wire is shorted. That is a absolute fact.
This is one that Peter and we tapped into one time to a breaker box that had the twist fuses. Remember those?
Yep.
The screw fuses, whatever they were called.
Hmm.
And we burned that one right off of the wall. Fire risk. Improper tapping of loose connections can overheat trip breakers or cause arcing that starts a fire. And all of a sudden, everything started in the whole house and the machines. Everything was flickering. We didn't know what was going on. Looked downstairs, and the whole box was on fire.
Wow, no kidding. You're
Yeah,
you're like the evil Knievel of flooring.
of stupidity.
Well, it's not on the list, but one potential hazard is you could get beat up. I had a guy almost beat me up at an apartment one time because I didn't know which breakers to turn off, so I turned off all of them. There was like 9 units. It was in the summertime, and I could hear different unit people going, "Man, what happened to the power?" And I'm downstairs trying to do this, and then I ran around the corner and ran smack into the guy. We hit exactly each other right in the corner. And he goes, "What's the matter with you, man? You turn off the power?" I go, "Yeah, it's a service thing we got to do." He didn't know I was doing the floors. And anyhow, this guy was a bruiser, man, and it was ugly.
We got
It's
to
good.
do a show on just how many times you've been beat up or threatened to get beat up or fights.
I've only been beat up a few times. Yeah, but now all my
You got a lot of
younger
stories
years.
for them.
Yep. All right, code violations and liability. And that's the biggie right here is the liability. By bypassing the proper distribution of the service equipment is a violation of electrical codes and could void insurance, as Rob said to begin with, violate permits and create liability if someone is hurt or property is damaged.
Bingo.
That's the other thing too, is leaving a box unattended and open. I think it was you. Was it you that told me? God, you are the evil Knievel of where the
Yes.
kid was down there.
The little kid.
That is frightening to think about.
That was the day that I changed everything. That was the day that I cut the alligator clips off of my cord.
Yeah,
And that was it. That was the day that I stopped doing it the way my dad did it, where we just took alligator clips and snapped them onto incoming legs. And yeah, you remember the story. I was done. I told Pete, I'm going to go downstairs, disconnect, and hook the circuit breaker panel up. And went downstairs, and there's a family still living there. And the mom told the kid, when you get home from school, get your snack and go downstairs. It was a finished basement. Go downstairs and watch TV and leave the guys alone who are working. And I went downstairs, and there's this kid sitting under a completely open breaker panel with his shoulder was touching my cord.
that's frightening to think about.
The crazy part was I remember thinking if that was Bum, that was my kid,
Yeah,
he'd have been dead because Bum would have been fiddling around in that. He loved
yeah,
taking cords apart and all that. He loved
yeah.
taking stuff apart, electrical stuff. I mean, I I just remember thinking, Mike, I could have killed this kid.
You'd probably been getting out just about right now.
Yeah. Uh,
That is
so
frightening,
yeah,
man,
leaving
to think
things
about.
unattended, absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Next one there, overloading circuits, plugging a heavy machine into an unattended circuit can cause overload that circuit, tripping breakers, damaging the panel wiring, and creating unsafe conditions. Also, that can damage your machine. Last show I was talking about the power drives that we did in Chicago. The guy hooked up for us, but we had to run about 120 feet of cord.
Hmm.
The electrician hooked up, but what he did was he hooked up right, he hooked up the power station right underneath the power source, and then he ran
Hmm.
120 feet of cord.
Yeah, it's wrong.
Wrong. Okay. And that's why I ran it for about an hour, showing him that this can work. This is how we do it. And then I shut it all down and said, all right, so it can be done, but here's what I want you to do. You've got to get another power station. Okay. Because this building, I think this building, we boosted it up as far as we could, and I was still only getting about 217. And we're looking for about 240. Okay. So I said, we're doing a lot of things wrong here where we're running that cord 120 feet from the power source. I go, you want to be 50 feet from power station to machine and then run your hot source. Now, if you're not getting enough juice, then you got to run a second booster so we get 217 and then we can boost up from 217. We had to do that in Denver a couple of BCC shows ago. I had to run about 300 feet of cord. Remember, I had to run it for
Yeah.
you.
Yep.
And I ended up using two or three power stations to keep boosting along the way. So we had proper. I mean, the great thing about the power station, it can boost or buck power. It can buck it if it's too high. We can get it down close to where we need it, 220, 240, whatever we're calling for. Or we can boost it. So that's what I love about that power station is we can go either way with that. But I did shut them down and say, all right, it can work. I said, but here's how I want you guys to set up your power from now on. Okay. We're not just because the other thing I said, what can happen is we can burn out capacitors and things like that. And then we go back to the show we did before about prevention, right?
Yep, yep,
Don't do it. If you know it's wrong, don't do it because it could cause things, worse down the road.
yep. It can cause backfeeding and grounding issues. Improper tapping can create backfeeds with straight voltage or grounding problems that endangers others and damage equipment, like you said. I think, did we talk about that one already?
Yes, yep. Yeah, that can
Okay, yeah.
damage the
All
equipment.
right. Employee and site safety concerns. Contractors may not be following lockout, tagout procedures, which are designed to prevent accidental energizing of equipment. So, kind of all we talked about. We really encourage you to stay away from it. Um, and it really that's really the only right answer is don't
We're
do
going to
it.
put this up. Let's put this list up. Let's have Chris put this up so everybody can read it. And because it does have safe alternatives for what to do, and that's where we're at now.
Yeah.
Just go with the safer alternatives. Have plenty of pigtails, so you're not. I think one of the funniest ones I ever saw was I had to go out on a job site one time and going through the garage, and you can hear the big machines running. And he had plugged into the dryer. Okay. But what he did was he moved the dryer out of the way and he took three screwdrivers and stuck them
Oh my
into the
gosh.
outlet. And then he
Shoot.
snapped he snapped his alligator clips
Onto the screwdrivers?
onto the screwdrivers. But he was safe. He put little pieces of cardboard in between there,
Wow.
and
You know,
I just remember saying to he's like, hey, we're talking. I go, hey, can I talk to you for, yeah, I'm going to show you. Come here for a minute. I said, I can run down to Home Depot and grab you a quart. He goes, yeah, I know. I keep meaning to do that.
yeah. Golly. But would you go to the casino and put down a bet that you're going to be right 1,500 times, 15 times to zero? You know what I mean? Who would do that? Or 1,000 to zero? Or, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Nobody would,
Yes.
nobody would make that bet. And I think your life is precious, man, and your people depend on you and what have you. And, it's just not worth taking the risk, right? All right.
No,
I think we
not at
covered it,
all.
Rob.
Because I think the scariest thing about electricity is the freaking speed in which it can
Yeah.
nail you. Just the blink of an eye.
If
It's
you
blink
still,
of an eye stuff.
yep. If you still want that speed, go down and buy that game operation and play that. All right. This has been another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. Please stay tuned for another episode.